We're lucky enough to have Kathy Martinez-Prather, the director from the Safety Center, the Texas School Safety Center. Good morning, Kathy. Thank you again for joining me.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
For those of us who don't know, for our viewers who don't know, this Texas School Safety Center was created after the Columbine shooting. What's the goal of the center, Kathy?
That's correct. The center was established in 1999, shortly after the Columbine school shooting. So it sort of gives you a point of reference into where our state was at the time, and knowing we needed to establish a central clearinghouse, if you will, that schools could go to for school safety best practices. And our mission here at the Texas School Safety Center is to ensure safe and healthy learning environments across Texas.
What do you do at the center? Do you assess every school district? Do you assess every school to make sure they have a plan in place? How do you help prevent tragedies like this?
So the Texas School Safety Center is written into the Texas Education Code, and we are to serve as the central clearinghouse to provide training, research, and technical assistance to all K-12 school districts, charter schools, and junior community colleges. So it's a very broad charge. And over the last 2 decades, those charges and responsibilities have increased, and certainly after tragic events that have occurred yesterday. And so school districts also have a ton of school safety procedures that they have to implement to ensure a safe and secure environment. For the center, one of our major responsibilities is the review and verification of every emergency operations plan here in the state. School districts are required once every 3 years to conduct a safety and security audit of their district facilities. And that data is in turn gathered by the Texas School Safety Center. And it really sort of provides a snapshot in time of the status of school safety in Texas. And that report we make public.
I have to ask you, was that audit done for Uvalde Robb Elementary School?
Yes, it was, and we collect all of that data and report it aggregately. The center also provides a statewide training program that covers everything from developing your emergency operations plan to engaging in standard response protocol procedures, how to exercise and drill to your plan, and we also provide training in school behavioral threat assessment.
When you're reviewing these plans from these different schools, what have you found so far? What is the majority when it comes to schools here in Texas? Are they prepared for something like this?
What I'll say is that what happened yesterday is every parent and educator's worst nightmare. And so it's difficult to comprehend how this can occur, especially with those who are so young and vulnerable. You know, our first iteration of our EOP reviews that took place was really to sort of establish a baseline of where our state stands. And so we're at a point now where we are really trying to focus in and hone in on very specific procedures and processes for our school districts to ensure that they have the most effective response. Every school district in this state wants to do the right thing, and there's always room for continuous improvement. And so that is what we're working toward, is reviewing these plans, getting a baseline of where they're at, and really trying to help them get on that continuum of quality school safety efforts in their school districts.
As the director of that center, what do you see as far as the baseline? I mean, what can you tell our viewers this morning? People who are waking up, sending their kids to school again.
I certainly understand the concerns that parents have today, the anxiety, not wanting to send their children to school. I certainly felt that this morning as well, leaving my house this morning and seeing my little one and second guessing if she should go to school today. What I want to assure parents is that we cannot stop our processes right now. We have to continue to move forward. And so in times like this, it's paramount that we revisit and reinforce our school safety practices and processes. You know, we've done a tremendous amount of work in the last 2 years with getting schools where they need to be with their emergency planning process. And for the most part, our districts are doing everything that they can to make sure that they are ensuring the safety and security posture of their schools. There's always room for improvement.
You know, Kathy, you said it. There are things that we need to improve on. This is something that the center's been working on for decades. What is the significant barrier here? What is your biggest challenge when it comes to keeping schools safe?
You know, I always say it's important to keep school safety a part of the educational agenda. It's really sort of the infrastructure that puts everything else into place. We know that when students feel safe and secure, they come to school, they excel academically, graduation rates increase. So that's really critical. And in the time of the pandemic, there's been a lot of isolation, a lot of mental health strains. You know, these last 2 years have been tough, not just for educators, but for students and families. And so it is really important now more than ever to have that situational awareness, to be able to identify those individuals that may be in crisis, looking for those warning signs way before we ever have an incident, as we did yesterday. And I'm sure we're going to learn a lot more about this particular situation as we move forward. But it's really important that we remain vigilant and continue to have these conversations and really think about, you know, what are we going to do to prevent these situations from happening? But if they do, are we ready and prepared to have an effective response to mitigate as much loss to life as possible?
I need to go to break, Kathy, but before I go to break, I need to get this information out because I thought it was significant when we talked before the show. Active threat school kits. You're sending those out. What is that?
So we have several resources that we've developed for schools to help them develop an effective and high quality emergency operations plan. And all of those resources can be found on our website. And a component of the plan is to have an active threat annex. And we have that available on our website, an active threat toolkit that really helps schools in planning for all 5 phases of the emergency management cycle. So you'll find multiple resources linked in this toolkit, including an active threat annex template and a completion guide that school districts can follow to help them complete their annexes. This is a situation that is extremely catastrophic when it happens, and so it is important that schools are planning and drilling and training to that plan way before an event ever occurs.
Kathy, if you could just stay on the line for the interview, we'll have some more questions that we want to ask you, especially the mental health aspect with our executive producer, and then we'll post that for our viewers to watch on KXAN.com. Thank you again, Kathy, for all that you do.